What is the single worst movie you sat through hoping it would get better but didn't? The Last Airbender, the movie. It's been 10 years and I still become enraged when I think about it. Aragon, edit. Obligatory thanks for the awards? So much hate for something that doesn't exist? Artemis Fowl. What an absolute cluster F that movie was. Disney just skull-effed the source material to death and then set fire on the body. Fantastic Four 2015. That movie is a dumpster fire of epic proportions, but I wanted to see what they did with Doom, so I stayed till the end. But they effed him up too, edit, 2 instead of 2. Y'all ever seen Slender Man? Absolute shit show. As soon as the credits were rolling in the theater, a guy in the back yelled, "Well, that was shit." Mean Girls 2. Thought it was going to be like the first one, ended up with a Walmart version. Allegiant. Nothing actually happens in the film. I could have watched paint dry for 2 hours, and it would have been a more productive use of my time than watching that film. Super disappointing, especially since the first 2 films were fairly decent. Transformers: The Last Night. For a movie that's called Transformers, they sure do put a huge emphasis on everything except them. Optimus is in the movie for like 8 minutes, and it's painfully long. I almost walked out watching this movie. I was on a plane. Downsizing movie for me was a huge disappointment. Though the idea of the movie was nice and new, it turned to be very slow and boring. The new Doolittle movie with Robert Downey Jr. The climax of the movie is him pulling a bagpipe out of a dragon's butt. I was just sat there like, who approved this to be made? 365 days. It got worse. Cats, just yikes. I watched it 3 times in one weekend. I'm convinced I Manchurian candidated myself. Years from now I'll be out at some political event and someone will pass me a gun and say, "The Jellicle moon shines tonight." Then I'll take the gun and reply, "Jellicles do because Jellicles can." And then I fire, "Full disclosure, I was then and am now on edibles." There's so many movies on this list where I'm thinking, how did you not know that was going to be awful? Titanic 2, not the parody that appeared last year, but the 2010 feature film for which I would love to see the manager. Jack and Jill wasted an hour and a half of my life that I'll never get back. The Last Airbender and Suicide Squad. I went back and watched both because I thought maybe I was being too harsh on them. Nope, they still stink. Suicide Squad was weird for me. I enjoyed it so much until it was over. That's when I realized that none of that shit made any sense. It's entertaining if you have snacks and put zero thought into it, but the minute you start thinking, it gets terrible. Percy Jackson. I'm not sure how enjoyable it is if you haven't read the books, but if you have, it's unbearable. The only similarity to the books are the names of the characters. That's it. The story has absolutely nothing to do with any of what happens in the books. It's just pure disappointment. It starts off pretty weak and then gradually gets worse, and with each passing second, it simply gets more and more depressing. You don't want to stop watching because you're still hoping that maybe it'll turn around for the better and actually make sense for once. But no, it doesn't. The credits roll and there's a deep feeling of depression caused by disappointment, but also relief because the horrors are finally over. All of the Maze Runner movies after the first one, sure they were good, but as far as I remember, there was no maze running. 50 Shades of Grey. I am waiting for the movie to get interesting. Turns out it's just porn. The Dark Tower. The only reason I didn't leave was because I was in southern Florida for a trip and went to the movies to get out of the heat for a while. The movie AC was the only good thing I found with that movie. Fantastic Four. Take your pick on which one. They're all pretty abysmal. The 2005 one in particular sticks out to me. It's about an hour and a half of them being depressed about getting superpowers, followed by 5 minutes of bland action. The Happening. Nothing happened. Edit, thanks for the silver, friend. Independence Day Resurgence. Holmes and Watson. The Emoji Movie. I was honestly hoping for a Lego Movie situation where everyone thought it would be terrible but was actually really good. My hopes were dashed in like the first 5 minutes. Dark Phoenix. The X-Men movies have proved they can make masterpieces, then they ended on this rubbish movie. Threat Level Midnight. Skarn was a douche, didn't mind the robot butler as much. The after credit scene is cringe too. Disaster Movie. Worst movie ever. It took me 5 attempts to finish it and I regret every second of it. I would rather get punched in the crotch than have to watch that again. You heard it here first, folks. Some pretty honest and blunt reviews of some not so great movies. If you enjoyed the video, please like and hit subscribe for future videos, and I'll see you in the next episode.